What if your mailbox carries the signature of an emperor? Most people think their last name is just noise on a birth certificate, but if you are watching this, your bloodline might carry the weight of thrones. Before we step into the archives, hit that like button if you have ever wondered who owned your name before you did. Subscribe and share this with someone who shares your last name, because what we are about to uncover might redraw your entire family tree. The Imperial Archives in Vienna do not lie. They hold charters signed in blood, treaties that shifted continents, and 10 surnames that refused to die. These are not dusty entries. They are living threads connecting American suburbs to the Holy Roman Empire. Somewhere in Pennsylvania, a Kevenhuller receives a utility bill. Somewhere in Ohio, a Schwarzenberg checks their email. They carry keys to kingdoms. If your name appears on this list, someone in your lineage once commanded armies, wrote the map of Europe, or held a city against an empire. We are climbing from 10 to 1, and with every step, we get closer to the throne room itself. The higher we climb, the heavier the crown becomes. Number 10, Kevenhuller. Say it slowly. The name tastes like iron and stone. In 1571, a man named George Kevenhuller bought a bare rock in Carinthia from Archduke Charles II. The Ottomans were marching north. George did not build a house, he built a statement. Hochhausterwitz Castle rises from the earth like a weapon. 14 gates spiral up the mountain. Each gate is a murder hole. Each bend forces attackers to break formation. For 4 centuries, that fortress has never fallen. Not once. Not ever. George carved a warning into marble in the courtyard. He forbade his descendants from ever selling the rock. They listened. The Kevenhullers still hold those keys today. They still own the mountain. If this is your name, your bloodline carries the walls that never broke, the stone that outlasted empires. Number 9, Auersperg. Their crest carries an aurochs, the wild bull of Europe that vanished centuries ago. That beast gave them their name. The Auerspergs held Turget Castle in Carniola. Their signature appears on parchment dating back to 1162. That is 862 years of continuous history. For 300 years, they stood on the bleeding edge of Christendom. The Ottoman frontier was not a border. It was a wound that never healed. In 1575, Herbert VI Auersperg learned that 5 Ottoman commanders were massing near Bihać. He knew the odds. He knew he would not return. He rode out anyway. On September 22nd, they overwhelmed him. They took his head as a trophy for the Sultan. 18 years later, his kinsman Andreas returned to that same soil. He shattered the Ottoman army at Sisak. Austria called him the Carniolan Achilles. In 1653, the family became princes of the Holy Roman Empire. If you carry this name, your bloodline carries the wall that Europe hid behind, the sacrifice that bought time for the West. Number 8, Trautmannsdorf. This name did not win battles, it ended them. The 30 Years' War had burned Europe for 3 decades. 8 million lay dead. Germany was ash. No army remained strong enough to finish what others had started. The continent was exhausted. In November 1645, a nobleman from Graz walked into the negotiating halls at Munster. Maximilian von Trautmannsdorf carried a secret. In his baggage sat a handwritten instruction from Emperor Ferdinand III. It listed every principle the empire could sacrifice to buy peace. It was a map of surrender drawn by the emperor himself. For 3 years, he spent those concessions like currency. He gave ground where he had to. He held the line where he could. He spoke until his voice failed. On October 24th, 1648, the Peace of Westphalia was signed. The modern nation-state was born from that document. The sovereignty of borders began with his pen. Historians still credit his hand for ending the deadliest war the continent had ever seen. If this is your name, your bloodline carries the silence that followed the guns. The treaty that stopped the slaughter. Number 7, Starhemberg, July 1683. The emperor has fled Vienna. Kara Mustafa stands outside the walls with an army so vast the tents darken the horizon. He sends the traditional demand, surrender or die. The man who must answer is Ernst Rudiger von Starhemberg. He is 67 years old. He commands a garrison outnumbered 10 to 1. He refuses. For 2 months, the Ottomans tunnel beneath the walls. They pack the foundations with gunpowder and blow the bastions open. Starhemberg orders any sentry found asleep to be shot immediately. Assault after assault crashes over the rubble. Every wave breaks. The Viennese chew leather and boil boot soles. They do not yield. By September, the walls are shattered. The garrison is a shadow. He fires distress rockets from the Tower of St. Stephen's into the night sky. On September 12th, the relief army charges down from the Kahlenberg. The siege shatters. Vienna holds. Europe holds. The Ottoman tide turns back forever. If this is your name, your bloodline carries the man who stood between the Sultan and the West, the defender who refused to kneel. But the next family did not defend a city. They built a palace designed to hold the universe itself. Number 6, Eggenberg. They began as wine merchants in Styria. They learned to lend money. Then they learned to lend money to emperors. Hans Ulrich von Eggenberg became chief minister to Ferdinand II. He guided imperial policy through the darkest years of the 30 Years' War. He was the power behind the throne. In 1628, he became Duke of Krumlov. In Graz, starting in 1625, he constructed something impossible. Schloss Eggenberg has 365 exterior windows, one for each day, 24 staterooms, one for each hour, 4 corner towers aimed at the cardinal directions, one for each season. While Europe tore itself apart over God, Hans Ulrich built a cosmos in stone. An astronomical ceiling maps the stars. The architecture is a calendar. The building is a clock. Then the line vanished. In 1717, the last male Eggenberg, a boy of 13, died of appendicitis. One of the richest houses in the empire ceased to exist. The palace became a museum. The name became a ghost. If this is your name, your bloodline carries the house that mapped heaven and then disappeared into silence. When the Eggenbergs died, their Bohemian lands did not return to the crown. They passed to the next name on this list. Number 5, Schwarzenberg. Look at their coat of arms. You will see a severed head, a crowned Turk with a raven pecking at the skull. The emperor himself granted that badge. In 1598, Adolf von Schwarzenberg retook the Ottoman fortress of Raab. His men crossed the bridge disguised as Turkish supply riders. They blew the gates, they stormed the citadel. They took no prisoners. The emperor made him an imperial count and gave him that grim crest to carry forever. The family rose to princely rank in 1670. In 1719, they inherited the Bohemian estates of the extinct Eggenbergs. They absorbed the Cosmos Palace, but their finest hour came in October 1813. Karl Philipp, Prince of Schwarzenberg, took supreme command of the Allied armies at Leipzig. The Battle of the Nations. 600,000 men. The largest engagement Europe had ever witnessed. Napoleon was broken on that field. His empire cracked. Within 18 months, the Emperor of the French was finished. Exiled to Elba. If this is your name, your bloodline carries the commander who broke Napoleon, the hand that ended the French Empire. The next name was not Austrian at all. It rose so fast it ended up richer than the emperor it served. But before we cross into the top 4, pause and feel the weight of what we have covered. Fortresses that never fell, treaties that stopped wars, walls that held against the Ottoman tide. If your pulse is racing, if you're searching your memory for any of these sounds in your own name, then smash that like button. Subscribe right now. Turn on the bell. Share this video with someone who needs to know where they come from. We are entering the territory of dynasties that bought nations and named countries. This is where bloodlines become borders. The final 4 names are coming. And number 1 ruled the world for 6 centuries. If you have made it this far, you are part of this story now. Comment the word bloodline below so I know who is still with me. Hit the like button until it breaks. And subscribe, because the next name on this list employed Haydn, built Versailles in Austria, and bankrolled the music you still listen to today. Number 4, Esterházy. Once, they were Za, minor Hungarian nobility with empty pockets and borrowed horses. Then Nicholas made a decision that changed history. He converted to the Catholic faith and bound his house to the Habsburg emperor without reservation. He bet everything on one alliance. In 1622, he received Fürstenstein Castle. The Esterházys still own it 4 centuries later. The keys never passed to strangers. In 1687, Paul the Martyr became a prince of the Holy Roman Empire. By the mid-1700s, Nicholas the Magnificent drew an income that exceeded the emperor's own. He built Esterházy Palace with an opera house and a marionette theater. Visitors compared it to Versailles. The walls were gold, the gardens were geometry. And he employed a servant named Joseph Haydn. Haydn wore Esterházy livery for decades. He wrote the symphonies that built the classical style. The household books list him as a house officer of the family. He was property. He was genius. He was theirs. The Esterházys paid for the soundtrack of the Enlightenment. If this is your name, your bloodline carries the house that paid for the music of Europe. The patrons who owned art itself. Number 3, Liechtenstein. This family did something no other noble house in Europe managed. They bought a country and put their name on the map. The name comes from a castle in the woods south of Vienna. Records mention them as early as 1136. For 5 centuries, they served the Habsburgs. They were rich. It meant nothing. Imperial law denied them a seat in the Diet. They held lands from other lords. They had no vote that mattered. They were wealthy ghosts. In 1608, Karl Marr became a hereditary prince. Still not enough. So they hunted for land that answered only to the emperor. In 1699, they bought the lordship of Schellenberg. In 1712, they purchased the county of Vaduz, 2 poor stretches of mountain village beside the Rhine, worthless to anyone else. On January 23, 1719, Emperor Charles VI united the 2 territories, raised them to an imperial principality, and named the new state Liechtenstein. That nation still exists. It still carries their name. The last sovereign state in Europe named after a private family. They print stamps. They mint coins. They exist because one family refused to be forgotten. If this is your name, your bloodline carries a nation, a seat at the United Nations, a passport that bears your surname. Number 2, Babenberg. In the year 976, Emperor Otto II handed the eastern frontier of Bavaria to a Frankish count named Leopold. It was a march, a raw border zone facing the Magyars. It was worth almost nothing, forest and wolf. 20 years later, in a deed dated 996, a scribe wrote a word for that territory for the first time. Ostarrîchi, the eastern realm. That word is static. That word is Austria. Your country's name was born on Babenberg ground. Leopold V captured Richard the Lionheart on his return from the Third Crusade. He found the English king disguised in a village. He sold him to the emperor for a ransom that paid for the walls of Vienna. In 1156, Frederick Barbarossa sealed the Privilegium Minus and elevated Austria from a march to a duchy in its own right. The Babenbergs invented the nation. Then, in 1246, Duke Frederick the Quarrelsome rode out against the Hungarians at the river Leitha. He was killed. The male line ended in an afternoon. An entire dynasty vanished, leaving a throne empty, a kingdom without a king. If this is your name, your bloodline carries the family that named Austria. The ghosts who built the throne that others would steal. Number 1, Habsburg. Around the year 1020, on a ridge above the River Aar in what is now Switzerland, a Swabian count named Radbot built a stone castle. They called it Habsburg, the Hawk's Castle. It was nothing, a minor fortress belonging to a minor family. For 250 years, Europe had no reason to remember the name. It was a footnote. Then, in 1273, the throne of Austria sat empty. The Holy Roman Empire lacked an emperor. The prince-electors wanted a weak candidate they could control. They wanted a puppet. They chose a poor Swabian count named Rudolf. They made a mistake. Rudolf marched east. On August 26, 1278, on the Marchfeld outside Vienna, he met Ottokar of Bohemia in one of the largest cavalry battles of the Middle Ages. The earth shook. Ottokar died on that field. Rudolf took Austria. He handed it to his sons. He carried the Hawk's Castle bloodline into Vienna from 1440 until 1740. The crown of the Holy Roman Empire sat on a Habsburg head almost without interruption. They ruled Spain and the Americas. They ruled Bohemia and Hungary. They ruled the Netherlands and Italy. They ruled the Philippines and Belgium. An emperor of their blood still sat on the Austrian throne in 1918. 6 centuries of unbroken power. 6 centuries. From a hawk on a rock to an empire where the sun never set. From a forgotten castle in Switzerland to the palace of Schönbrunn. If this is your name, your bloodline carries the crown of Europe itself, the scepter that shaped the modern world. Look at your hands. If you carry any of these 10 names, you are holding history. Not metaphorically, literally. The cells in your body were built by food, bought with gold earned by emperors. Your genetic code was shaped by the survival of people who held walls, signed treaties, and commanded armies. You are not separate from this story. You are the latest chapter. But here is the question that matters. What will you do with it? These names survived the 30 Years' War. They survived Napoleon. They survived the fall of the Habsburg Empire itself. They crossed oceans to American shores. They hid in passenger lists at Ellis Island. They changed spellings at customs desks. But they endured. If you are a Kevenhuller, you carry the fortress. If you are a Schwarzenberg, you carry the battle. If you are a Habsburg, you carry the crown. And if you are watching this, feeling that strange pull in your chest, that recognition, that suspicion that your name means more than you were told, then you owe it to yourself to dig deeper. Go to the mirror. Say your last name out loud. Feel the shape of it. Does it feel heavy? Does it feel old? These 10 names are heavy. They are ancient. They carry the dust of battlefields and the wax of imperial seals. They are not decorations. They are responsibilities. The Auerspergs died defending borders so their descendants could sleep safely. The Trautmannsdorfs negotiated peace so their children could grow up without fire. The Starhembergs held the line so Vienna could become the city of music. You might be the first generation to know this. Your grandfather might have hidden the name to fit in. Your grandmother might have anglicized the spelling to avoid questions. But the blood does not forget. The archives in Vienna still hold the charters. The castles still stand. The graves still bear the crosses. And somewhere in your DNA, the memory of a hawk on a rock, or a bull on a crest, or a severed head on a shield is still alive. This is your inheritance. Not money, not titles. Those are gone, taken by time and revolution. But the story remains. The proof that your ancestors mattered, that they changed the map, that they were not farmers in the Alps, though they might have been that too. They were the men and women who held the keys to the kingdom, who owned the music, who bought the nations, who named the countries, who ruled the world. So as you sit there in your American living room, or your Canadian apartment, or your Australian kitchen, remember this. You're not rootless. You're not just a modern consumer, a number in a database. You are the descendant of people who looked emperors in the eye and demanded their due, who built palaces that mirrored the cosmos, who broke the back of the Ottoman advance, who shattered Napoleon, who invented Austria, who ruled Europe. If this video has changed how you see yourself, if you feel that shift in your chest, that sudden awareness that your name is a key, then hit the like button right now. Not tomorrow. Now, while the feeling is fresh. Subscribe to this channel because we are going to keep unlocking bloodlines. We are going to keep finding the emperors in your attic. Comment below with your last name. Tell me if you found yourself on this list. Tell me if you are a Habsburg, a Babenberg, a Liechtenstein. I read every comment. And share this video with your family. Send it to your cousins. Send it to your parents. Let them know what they carry. Now, one last thought before you go. The past is not dead. It is not even past. It is sitting in your mailbox. It is ringing in your name when the barista calls out your coffee order. It is waiting in the pause when you spell your surname for the phone company. Khevenhullerschwarzenberg. Schwarzenberg. These letters are coordinates. They point to castles. They point to treaties. They point to thrones. When Rudolf von Habsburg won the Marchfeld in 1278, he did not know that 6 centuries later, a descendant might be watching a video about him, in a language that did not exist in his time, on a screen that would have seemed like magic. But he knew one thing. He knew that names matter. He knew that the Habsburg must become something greater than a hawk on a rock. And he made it so. If you are still here, if you have watched to the end, you are part of a very small group of people who know the truth about their origins. Hit the like button one more time. Subscribe if you have not already. And remember, your name is not an accident. It is a message in a bottle, sent across centuries, and you just opened it. Well, what happens now? You carry this knowledge. You walk differently. You speak your name differently. When someone asks where you're from, you no longer say just a town or a state. You say my family built the fortress that stopped the Ottomans. You say my bloodline signed the Peace of Westphalia. You say my ancestors invented Austria. You say my name was once a crown. Go to Vienna. Stand in the imperial archives. Look at the charters. See the signatures. Khevenhuller, Auersperg, Trautmannsdorf, Starhemberg, Eggenberg, Schwarzenberg, Esterházy, Liechtenstein, Babenberg, Habsburg. The ink is brown with age. The wax seals are cracked. But the names are alive. They are in you. They are walking around in the 21st century wearing sneakers, checking smartphones, living in suburbs, but carrying the medieval world in their veins. Check your family Bible. Check the immigration records. Check the Ellis Island logs. Look for the spelling variations. Khevenhuller, Auersperg, Trautmannsdorf, Sternberg, Eggenberg, Schwarzenberg, Esterházy, Liechtenstein, Babenberg, Habsburg. They are there. They are waiting. They are yours. And if you do not find these specific names, remember the lesson. Every name has a story. Every surname is a survival. Someone lived through the plague so you could exist. Someone crossed an ocean so you could be born. Someone signed a treaty or held a wall or wrote a symphony so that today you could have a world to live in. Honor them, learn them, speak them with the weight they deserve. Thank you for watching. Thank you for carrying these stories forward. If you are a Habsburg, comment below and tell us which name on this list came closest to your own. Tell us your story. We are listening. We are watching. We are building a community of people who know that the past is alive. And it is us. Until next time, remember, your name is your inheritance. Wear it like a crown. The castles still stand. Hochostowitz still rises from the Corinthian rock. Schloss Eggenberg still holds its astronomical clock. The palace of Esterházy still echoes with Haydn's music. Liechtenstein still exists on the map, a postage stamp nation that remembers. And the Hofburg in Vienna still holds the Habsburg ghosts. You can visit them, you can walk the halls, you can touch the stone that your ancestors touched. You can stand in the room where the Peace of Westphalia was negotiated. You can see the armor worn at the Battle of the Nations. You can hear the silence of the Babenberg extinction. It is all there. It is all real. It is all waiting for you to return. This is not nostalgia. This is genealogy as destiny. When you know where you come from, you know where you can go. The Khevenhullers did not sell their rock. The Schwarzenbergs did not flee the battle. The Habsburgs did not settle for being counts. They reached for emperors. They reached for centuries. They built legacies that outlasted their own deaths. That is the standard. That is the bloodline. That is the challenge. What will you build that lasts 400 years? What will your descendants say about you in the year 2424? Will they know your name? Will they speak it with pride? Or will it be dust? The choice is yours. The blood is already in your veins. The name is already on your mailbox. The only question is whether you will carry it forward with the honor it deserves. So stand up, speak your name, claim your history, and build something worth remembering. This is your birthright. This is your legacy. This is your story. And it is far from over. In America, these names sound exotic. They sound heavy. They mark you as different in a country that claims to have no history. But that is your advantage. You carry the depth that others lack. When someone asks about your difficult last name, your unpronounceable surname, your strange spelling, do not apologize. Do not simplify. Do not Americanize it away. Explain it, teach it, tell them about the fortress. Tell them about the treaty. Tell them about the crown. Make them remember that in a land of newcomers, you are ancient. You are royal. You are the real thing, and never forget it. I will see you in the next video. We will uncover another bloodline. We will find another set of names that change the world. Until then, keep searching, keep questioning, keep remembering that you are not just a spectator in history. You are the continuation of it. You are the living archive. You are the proof that they lived, that they fought, that they won. You are the Habsburg hawk. You are the Babenberg bull. You are the Schwarzenberg raven. You are the Starhemberg defender. You are the Eggenberg cosmos. You are the Trautmannsdorf peace. You are the Auersperg wall. You are the Kevenhuller gate. You are the Esterházy symphony. You are the Liechtenstein nation. You are the 10th name. You are the first name. You are everything they were and everything they hoped you would be. Do not disappoint them today. Truly, go now. The archives are open. The castles are waiting for you. Your blood calls. Answer it now.